I think in 3 minutes we can start. Take note, Julie.
May countdown po kasi, sir.
May countdown. Okay, wait. Julie, wait for the countdown from the technical. They will announce. Yeah.
Okay.
Pinang.
It na po kasi like
Yung first one, October 16, no? October 16, she's Friday.
naka-live na po tayo sa YouTube, wag na pong magsalita.
Audio is okay? Audio is okay?
Yes, Dr. everyone. Good morning. Welcome and thank you for joining us today for the part 2 of our very special webinar series entitled Nurturing the Heart and Soul, Promoting Physical, Mental, and Spiritual Well-Being in Times of Pandemic. This webinar series is brought to you by the Commission on Higher Education Regional Office 4 and in partnership with 2 prestigious educational institutions in the province of Rizal, the University of Rizal Systems and the International Peace Leadership College. We have a wonderful theme for today's webinar, and that is fostering positive vision of hope and peace towards building a stress-free academic community. So today is October 23, 2020, and this is part 2 of this webinar series. The first one was done on the 16th of October, and this was participated by hundreds of faculty members, heads, and students from all over Rizal. And also, for everyone's information, you can watch this live on Zoom. People are streaming now on Zoom, on Facebook, and on YouTube. So whatever platform you're watching this from, or maybe you're watching this in your school or probably in your home, in your office, I hope you're in your most comfortable state and are super ready and excited to take in all the important information and wisdom that will be imparted to us by our distinguished speakers for today. So basically, the goal of this webinar is to help the students and faculty members in coping up with the mental tolls and spiritual challenges that can arise during this time of crisis. And I'm sure that everyone will find these topics extremely relevant and timely as we transition to this new normal, as we cope up with the new normal. So if you're ready to start, let us go and begin this webinar. So actually, we have a huge number of delegation today joining us, different schools from all over Region 4. I'm going to mention them later as we go into the program. But first, allow me to begin formally our program today with an introduction. Let us invite the presence of our Heavenly Father to join us today. So let us watch this prayer video.
Almighty God, our Father, we praise and thank you for this day. You have given us another opportunity to appreciate life and to fulfill our mission as your instruments of peace and progress. Please pardon us for our shortcomings. Help us to amend our impieties. May we learn to pattern our lives through your Son's example. Father, bless our endeavors, especially today's meeting. Guide us in our discussions. Enlighten our minds in every decision that we make. Give us your courage and grace that we may effectively do our part as public servants. Bless our plans, programs, and projects so that we may achieve our objectives for your greater glory. All this we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Mga Pinas.
Kayang magiliw, helas ng sinakanan, alam ng puso, sa titik mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, kuya ka ng magiting, sa manlulupin, di ka pasisingil, sa nanagang tutok sa simoy at sa langit mo pagaw, ay hinagang tula, kawin sa pagkayang minamahal, ang isang bawat mo'y tagumpay na nakikinig. Ang bituin at karoon niya kailan pamay di matitigil. Luman ang araw ng warhagin pagsinta, buhay langit sa piling mo. Aming ligaya ng pagkay mga aking, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Thank you very much. Let us now all be seated. Now, for the first part of our program, we are going to hear some welcome remarks. Please help me welcome the president of one of the co-hosts of today's webinar, the president of the International Peace Leadership College. Please help me welcome with a big round of applause, Dr. Venus G. Agustin.
Okay, good morning. To our keynote speaker and TED 4 Director, Dr. Amelia Biglietti, through its representative, Ms. Jennifer Francisco, the two guests of honor and speaker, Dr. Robert Kittle and Dr. Alicia Eliasar, which I will properly introduce them later, along with the two respected reactors and a friend, Dr. Raymond Arciga and Professor Rachel Halipa. To my fellow 7 members of the CHED4 Special Committee RIZAL Cluster, which is chaired by Dr. Nancy T. Pascual, the President of University of Rizal System, Dr. Erlinda C. Pifianco, President of City of Antipolo Institute of Technology, Dr. Victoria C. Naval, President, Juan Cainta College, Dr. Pedro Simon T. Ledesma, Provost, De La Salle College of St. Benilde, Antipolo Campus, Dr. Caroline is Capili, OP, President, Sina College of Taytay, Dr. Vivienne Catherine Cosey, President, ICCT Colleges, to the more than 50 university and college presidents, administrators, faculty and staff, my dear students from the different colleges and universities, Rizal Cluster, and outside of Rizal, welcome to the second series webinar episode with the title, Crisis Management Nurturing the Heart and Soul, Promoting Physical, Mental, and Spiritual Well-Being in Times of the Pandemic, with the theme, Fostering Positive Vision of Hope and Peace towards Building Stress-Free Academic Communities. I hope that after this webinar conference, all of us who are registered and watching live today will be energized, more hopeful, value life more, become confident within, and ultimately find peace with God in our mind and in our heart. Amidst this COVID-19 pandemic that affected our economic, connectivity, and social relationships, including our way of life, as a students, as a faculty. May God bless everyone, and good morning.
And now for the next part of our program, we will be hearing a keynote address from the director of CHEDRO 4A, Dr. Amelia A. Biglete, CSO3. However, due to her responsibilities this morning, she's not able to make it here today, but she sent us a very special person to give the keynote address on her behalf, and we would like to welcome her. I'm sorry. So there's a bit of change in our program. For the next part of our program, we are going to hear the introduction of our
He's here
distinguished
already.
panel of
Renen is already up inside. Yeah.
okay.
Ma'am Renen already. Ma'am Ren, it's your turn.
Please help me welcome with Dr. Renifer to speak on behalf of Dr. Amelia A. Biglete.
Unmute po, unmute. Yes.
Okay, good morning, everyone. In behalf of our very dynamic director of CHEDRO 4, Dr. Amelia A. Biglete, I would like to extend the message of Dr. Biglete for everyone to the created RIZAL Cluster Special Committee, which will address the needs of our HEIs and faculty and students in the province of Rizal during this time of pandemic. To the chairperson of this committee, Dr. Nancy T. Pascual of the University of Rizal System, to the members of the committee, to ITEC, Dr. Erlinda Pifianco, to the president of Juan Cainta College, Dr. Victoria, ma'am, I forgot. To Dr. Vicky of Juan Cainta College, to the president of De La Salle University, Antipolo, Provost to Lidesma, to Sister Caroline of Siena College, and of course, the last but not the least, the very dynamic and very persistent president and organizer of this series of webinar, Dr. Venus Agustin. Thank you very much for all the efforts that this committee has exerted in order that this webinar series will become a reality. While there is really a difficulty in organizing activities, especially in this time of pandemic, our beloved Director Biglete has exerted also the efforts of CHEDRO 4 and the RIZAL cluster in order that we will be able to address and we will be able to serve the needs, especially when it comes to addressing stress management to our stakeholders in the province of Rizal. With the efforts that our special committee in Rizal has exerted, this is only the beginning. There are a lot of projects that these presidents of the committee will do for the province of Rizal. So, to the participants in the YouTube channel, in the FB Live, and those who have registered in this webinar series, I would like to welcome you all. Enjoy and learn from this undertaking. And to all the presidents present that I have not mentioned, and of the different HEIs, to all the faculty members and students, just relax and enjoy, and always be updated of what will be happening in the province of Rizal when it comes to the services of CHEDRO 4 and the special committee created specifically for this purpose. So let us start with today's undertaking, and I hope that everybody will learn a lot and we will all be ready, and we will be able to surpass the challenge of pandemic that we are facing right now in God's grace. And with the help of everybody, we will be able to face everything with flying colors. Good morning, everyone, and God bless.
Thank you very much, Dr. Renifer R. Francisco. That was Dr. Francisco. She's the Education Supervisor 2 of CHEDRO 4A, and she spoke on behalf of the very dynamic Director of CHEDRO 4A, Dr. Amelia A. Biglete. So thank you very much, ma'am, for that. And now for the next part of the program, it's the most exciting part, most awaited part. We are going to have here the introduction of our distinguished panel of speakers. So for this, may I once again call on the President of the International Peace Leadership College, Dr. Venus G. Augustine, for the introduction of the speakers.
Our first speaker, Dr. Alicia Eleazar, is the 2006 recipient of Dangal ng Bayan Award from Civil Service Commission, Public School District Supervisor, Schools Division of Palawan, Mimarupa, and recognized National Educators Academy of the Philippines, NEAP, Facilitator, Palawan Division. My dear colleagues, students, and faculty, please help me welcome our first speaker for today, Dr. Alicia Eleazar.
Hello, good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning,
Good morning, ma'am. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning po.
Morning. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning,
Hello.
Doc.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah. Good morning.
you are now in. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Um, good morning to all participants from the universities mentioned already, from the students, faculty, and staff. Good morning. I know for sure we are all set for today's webinar. We all know also the present condition of the whole world. We are facing pandemic. And as an educator, an administrator, we are suffering so many stresses in life. And if we cannot manage this, sorrow strike us any time of the day. And to jot down all necessary informations that you can read later on. But before that, allow me first to read all together so that we can have an interaction with me. Let us read the objectives of today's topic. 1. At the end of the session, you're all expected to identify factors influencing to determine stress management technique, and 3, appreciate situations amidst stress. I will give you 2 minutes to answer this question. We will ponder first, okay? In your own experience as an administrator, as a faculty, as a professor, a student, or what makes you stressful in work? And every time you are in stress, what did you do? And number 3 question, cite some stress management techniques. I will give you 2 minutes. The time starts now. Okay. I know you're done. So here are now the factors influencing work stresses. And some of us really experience this one. Okay, we have here the number 1 factor is the drive for success. The drive for success, we know that our society is driven by work. Personal adequacy equates with professional success. We crave status and abhor failure. Am I right? And monetary success, as even if we are proving our desire for success, that is one. Number 2 is factor is changing work patterns. Many people today feel lucky to have job. But there are times because of this experience in the whole world, some other colleagues become unemployed. There are sometimes redundancy, shorter working weeks, new technology. This all affects emotional and physical security. No more jobs for life, short-term contracts, financial and emotional burnout is increasing among all levels. Then, number 3 factor influencing work stress is the working condition. In our work, we have so many stress. Physical, mental health is adversely affected by unpleasant working conditions such as high noise level, lighting, temperature, unsocial or excessive hours. Particularly here in the province, our teachers used to cross rivers in order to deliver modules to their learners. Most of the time, because of rains, heavy rain, sometimes because of typhoon, we could not contact each other because of the signal, poor signal. The next factor influencing work stress, we have here overwork. Overwork, of course, stress may occur through an inability to cope up with the technical or intellectual demands of particular tasks, particularly administrators, faculty, professors. Nowadays, circumstances such as long hours, deadlines, frequent interruption. Number 5 factors that influence work stress, underwork. If overwork causes stress, arise from boredom because there is not enough to do or because the job is dull and repetitive. Number 6 factor that influence work stress is uncertainty. Why is there uncertainty? About the individual work role. Sometimes we do not know what is our role, we do not know what is our function, what is our the expectations from us, the lack of communication, feedback from that result in confusion, helplessness, and stress. So uncertainty cause stress. And number 7, this is really causing us work stress, conflict. We cannot deny the fact that anywhere in the world, including the academic, is experiencing conflict. Stress can arise when an individual does not want to do or that
Okay, we can move on to the next speaker, then we come back later.
okay,
I think
okay. I'm okay now. Okay now.
Okay.
Number
Okay.
number 9, the relationship. Okay, relationships at work. I will go on. Number only if there is an open discussion or open communication because this is essential to encourage positive relationship. And number 10, factor that influence work stress is changes at work. We all know that change is the only constant thing that is happening in our lives. But changes really that alter psychological, physiological, and behavioral routines such as promotions, retirement, and redundancy are particularly stressful. Now, to cope up with all of these factors that influence stress relative to work, let us now learn some techniques in managing stress. Stress management technique, we have here number 1. We need to change perhaps our thinking. How do we change our thinking? Of course, we must reframe our thinking. Reframing is a technique to change the way we look at things in order to feel better about them. There are so many ways to interpret the same situation. So, pick up the one you like. Reframing does not change the flight. Input positive thinking because positive thinking helps you forget powerlessness, dejection, despair, and failure. On the other hand, stress leaves us vulnerable to negative suggestions. So, focus on positive, such as focus on your strength, learn from the stress you are under, look for opportunities, and seek out the positive. Number 2, technique and stress management change your behavior. But how? How can we change our behavior? We have here number one, be assertive. Assertiveness helps to manage stressful situations and will, in time, help to reduce their frequency. Often verbal communicate spontaneously infringe the rights of others. In the same way, assertive people respect themselves and others, takes responsibility for actions and choices, ask openly for what they want. Self-confidence remains intact, not reliant on the approval of others. Here are some assertive skills to employ. Establish good eye contact. Don't stare. Stand or sit comfortably. Don't fidget. Talk in a firm, steady voice. Use body language. Be concise and direct to the point. Be sociolinguistic competent enough by using the right word in the right person and in the right time. Number three, technique and managing stress is change your lifestyle. How do we change our lifestyle? You check our diet. Your diet engage, we must engage in healthy eating diet. Exercise. This benefits, it usually list by the 5 reaction contact. In changing your lifestyle, perhaps we check our sleep, how many hours we sleep, because good sleep is a stress reducer. It refreshed and increase our energy during plenty of daytime. Another technique in stress management is leisure. Leisure gives you break from stress. Likewise, it provides social contact. And another one technique in stress management is relaxation. Of course, relaxation is really very important to all of us in the academy because relaxation lowers blood pressure, combats fatigue, promotes sleep, reduces pain, eases muscle tension, decreases mental worries, increases concentration, increases productivity, and increases clear thinking. So, I have a question here. Did you experience work-related stress? Of course, I know your answer all is yes. Now, can you manage stress tactfully? For the topics we have mentioned here, are you thankful of your situation now? I firmly believe you have learned from today's lesson on stress management, and it helps a lot in managing day-to-day routines that cause stress. You can now combat all of those fundamentally because you can apply those techniques once stress overtakes you. Allow me to read this unknown quotation from an unknown author. Quotation from an unknown author. Do your best and let the rest go. You can't be perfect no matter how hard you try. So give yourself credit for making an effort and try to stop stressing about the outcome. From an unknown author. That's all. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. God bless us all.
Thank you so much, Dr. Eleazar, for the wonderful presentation on stress management. Now to introduce the next speaker, Dr. Agustin, please.
Okay, so our next speaker is currently the International Chairman for Youth and Students for Peace, founded in 2017 and conducting programs in 46 countries. He is also the Director of Education for the Universal Peace Federation of Asia Pacific region during his 4.5 decades in Asia. Dr. Kettle has been a guest speaker and educator in schools, colleges, and universities and faith-based organizations, teaching hundreds of thousands of students in more than 40 countries. He has published 14 books, articles, curricula, and in-depth research papers, along with being a photojournalist with stories running in 7 publications. Currently, he lives in Manila with his wife, Teresa, and they have 2 children. However, he was stuck and cannot come to the Manila. Well, anyway, he's still there. Let's welcome our second speaker, Dr. Robert Kittle.
Thank you, Dr. Venus Augustine, for the introduction. I'm sorry I'm not with you in the Philippines, but I will surely be coming back. Dr. Venus mentioned that I have 2 daughters. That is true. And more importantly, I'm in America visiting our granddaughter, our first grandchild. So it really changes your life. Talk about stress-free, the difference between parent and grandparent. The parent has all the stress and the grandparent is stress-free. It's a wonderful experience. Thank you for our first speaker, Alicia Eleazar, for your insights and contributions. I'm sure many people benefited from that. Let me now begin, since we have a limitation of time. And we know the title of this presentation. To the Director of Region 4 for Chad, thank you for really supporting this program, for the closing remarks speakers, for the reactors. It's really a pleasure to be here. This is our second webinar in this series. The first webinar was 1 week ago, and we had an excellent speaker, Professor Santa Maria. And again, I feel connected to that because that's kind of my wife's name is also Maria. And when we looked at the results, we had the stress-free management, the evaluation, then it was a very positive input. 65% thought the program was excellent, and another 34% thought it was very good. So if you combine the two together, that's about 99%. So we are appreciative of that support and input. I'll begin, since we have some new and some returning participants. I want to first state that there is no single cause to stress, as our first speaker mentioned, and also there's no single solution. I have been trained in counseling. I am not a professional counselor, but I do want to advise if there are any one of the participants, students, staff, or anyone who are listening, and if their stress levels are very high to the point that they are considering, even self-inflicted bodily harm to themselves, then surely they need to seek help. It's not a sign of weakness. It's really a sign of strength to reach out and say, I need help. And all of us in our lives at some time, at some point, we need help. And so please, I encourage anybody to do that. I looked up in Google the word stress, and this was the first top of the list of the Google Drive, and it's called Help Guide. And they've been in operation for 21 years. They reach 50 million people in 180 nations. And they don't take ads, which means they are not there for the money, but they're really there to help you. It's a good source. And I'd like to list a few of the things that they talk about. I will focus on the stress management. And they said you need a support network, a strong network of supportive friends and family members is an enormous buffer against stress. This cannot be emphasized enough. Family and friends, people that you can share. They say a burden shared is half the weight. So opportunity to speak and share, and for people who are just listen and acknowledge, and you will play a very important role. When you have people that you can count on, life's pressures don't seem as overwhelming. A sense of self-control in order to manage stress. If you have confidence in yourself and your ability to influence events and persevere through challenges, it's easier to take on stress in stride. And of course, you gain confidence through experience. You start off with really a small level of responsibility and you accomplish that, and that gives you confidence to take on more and more. So related to confidence is an important element we will talk about: responsibility, being responsible. Third, attitude and outlook. Again, this was mentioned. If you are generally hopeful and optimistic, you will be less vulnerable. Stress-hardy people tend to embrace challenges, have a strong sense of humor, and believe in a higher purpose, believe in God, and accept change as an inevitable part of life. So then I looked up one more. I went to Google and looked up stress for students during COVID, more specific to the topic that we're dealing with today. And 3 points they mentioned. This is the American Psychological Association, reputable. Practice self-care. Mentioned again, get enough sleep, exercise regularly, eat well, try mindfulness apps, meditation, things like this, and establish a routine in your life. That helps to reduce stress. Seek out social support. Again, we find a common point. We talk about family and networks. And also to celebrate, things to celebrate, and celebrate with other people. Be grateful and positive. Focus on things you can control. You can only control your own thoughts, your feelings, and your behavior. And we'll talk about the importance of having a clear vision and purpose of life. So the theme that we're talking about today is fostering a positive vision of hope and peace. I like the first part of this. And not to be controversial, but I will take exception to this second part, a stress-free academic environment. I don't think that's possible. In fact, I think stress is a good thing in the right amount. It's like anything is good. If you have salt, you need salt, but too much salt, not so good. Food, we need food. Too much food, not a good thing. So I would say, how can you get a stress-free environment? And I thought, well, maybe this is what it means to have a stress-free environment. If we have no responsibility, then we can be stress-free. And animals, well, there are two types of stress. There's the short-term stress, which animals have, this fight or flight mechanism. And there's the chronic long-term stress that eats at us and is very unhealthy. And I believe that's unique to human beings. So I want to move beyond this stress-free academic environment and focus instead on managing stress, a positive view of hope and peace, the first part of our theme. Managing stress, quick review, family and support network, confidence by taking responsibility and building on that, optimistic, be grateful. My favorite Bible verse is 2 Thessalonians 5:17, be grateful always. And that takes effort. It doesn't just happen. In fact, we don't need any effort to be resentful and complaining and negative, but we do take effort to sit and think and meditate and pray and find ways to be grateful, even in the midst of difficulty. And finally, self-care, but self-care not to just care for yourself, because you need to care for yourself so that you can care for others. And it's when you live for the sake of others, you find really the best solution to stress-free environment is caring for others. But you need to be healthy to be able to do that. So yes, we need self-care in order to help others. COVID-19, the pandemic that we are all facing. This is a period of additional stress for faculty, staff, students, education, businessmen, everyone. So it's not just a student thing. So we're in this together. And why? Especially students. Students need to take more responsibility. They need to schedule their time. They need to find self-discipline in terms of studying. And so that additional responsibility sometimes can be stressful. So let's see how we can manage that correctly. I went online to look at the different types of stress. And as I mentioned earlier, there are two types: the acute stress, which is short-term stress that quickly goes away. In fact, it's good. It's necessary. When you feel it when you slam on the brakes, have a fight with your partner, ski down a steep slope. It helps you manage dangerous situations. It always occurs when you do something new or exciting. All people have acute stress at one time or another. It's good, it's healthy, and that's what we need to nurture. Chronic stress. This is the stress that lasts for a long period of time. You may have chronic stress if you have money problems, unhappy marriage, or trouble at work. Any type of stress that goes on for weeks or months is chronic stress. And I mentioned before, at some point, reach out. It's not a sign of weakness, but a sign of strength that you're saying, I need help, and we all need help, and we can help others and be helped. Should be able to do that easily. If you don't find ways to manage stress, this stress, chronic stress, it may lead to health problems. So, last time we talked about kind of the fundamental principles that we need in our life. If these principles are clear, then this helps to insulate us from kind of the things that seem to be randomly at change. So they are the dual purpose principle in our life and the pair system principle. In other words, everyone has a mind and a body, and everyone is either a man or a woman. These are the fundamental elements in our life. The mind-body relationship, this is just a quick review, is like the pillar. It's vertical. The mind should direct the body, and that becomes the pillar. And if you build a building, you put the pillars in first. And after that, then the relationship of man and woman is the most powerful, strongest source of emotions between us. So this relationship also has to be very strong and clear. The man-woman relationship is really important. We call it the beam. You put them together and you have the pillars and beams of life. These are the unchanging structure of our character and our relationship. And if they are in place, well, you can withstand a lot of storms. When you build a building, you can put windows and doors wherever you want, but you cannot change the pillars in life. That's pillars and beams. So we need to have those clear. If you start to remove the pillars and beams, then things collapse. Buildings, character, families, even nations start to collapse if these two fundamental principles are not clear. So let's go back. Pillars and beams. The pillar is the mind-body relationship. Everything has an internal directive nature. So the mind needs to be strong and clear. And if it is, then that's really the kind of the number one defense of stress. Of course, body exercise is very important for managing personal stress, but relational stress in society really needs to begin within the area of the mind. And we have an external form, mind is up, body is down. That priority is critically important. Father Moon, the founder of the IPLC College, he passed away in 2012. And he said that the essence of goodness, this mind-body relationship, can be aligned correctly when we live for the sake of others. So this is a principle that is taught in the Bible. Whoever seeks to gain his life will lose it. So selfishness you will lose your life by just seeking to gain, take. But whoever loses his life will preserve it. Again, in the Bible, Do nothing from selfishness or conceit, but in humility, count others better than yourself. So the one image in Christianity, particularly of living for others, is our Lord Jesus Christ on the cross. He could have been resentful. He could have been complaining and accused and felt he's the victim. But instead, he said, Father, forgive them. So even in the midst of this crucifixion and the pain and suffering that accompanied that, he was thinking of others, not of himself. No self-pity. Let me repeat. When you look at the image of Jesus on the cross, the one thing that needs to come into your mind, no self-pity. Self-pity is very dangerous and can be destructive and a source of tremendous stress. In the Bible, the Quran, do not expect in giving any increase. So when you give, don't expect. Again, live for the sake of others. In Buddhism, a miser, a selfish person, they don't go to heaven, but noble men find joy and generosity. This is the key. When we find the ability to live for others, then we become valuable to that person that we are living for the sake of. If we're literally living for the sake of ourselves, then what value do we have to other people? Well, it's obvious. Living for the sake of others becomes, we become valuable people. And in the Bhagavad Gita, the sacrifice performed by those who desire no reward. So all religions are teaching this fundamental concept, live for the sake of others. It's integral in every religious teaching, and I would say particularly in the life of Jesus Christ. So my question, we live for the sake of others. Well, who is the first other that we would live for? Where do we practice this first? Where can we learn this, the model, the paradigm? And the answer is our parents. Children live for the sake of their parents. That's the natural order. And they are the first people that they love and live for and willingly sacrifice. So this relationship of parent and children is critically important. And it's the source of filial piety, the mind-body priority, and of good character, and it insulates us in terms of withstanding the difficulties. You've got someone to talk to, someone you can trust and reach out to if you need to. It's the North Star in our life. Our compass, our conscience really begins with our parents. Father Moon said the foundation of the conscience is goodness itself. So the standard of goodness is the standard of the conscience, and we've found that in all religions. They're teaching the same concept, using different words, yes, but teaching the same concept. And it builds. So the individual lives for the family for the community for the nation for the world, and the world for God. And this becomes a scalable model where you're living for others at every level of society. This concept of filial piety is again found in all religions. In Confucianism, it's called the root of goodness. In the Bible, in both the Old and the New Testament, the Jewish and the Christian part of the Bible, honor your father and mother. In the Quran, worship God or Allah alone and do good unto your parents and near of kin. In Buddhism, 5 ways a child should minister to his parents as the East. The East is, of course, where the sun first rises, and you get up in the morning and you seek how can you minister, support, and attend your parents. In the Upanishads, treat your mother as God, treat your father as God. So that's the basic principle of what we call dual purpose principles. There's a purpose of the mind, purpose of the body. When they're aligned correctly, dominated by the mind and body are both necessary, but the order is critically important. Then we become good people. We create goodness in ourselves and in relationships. That's the pillar. And of course, let's now look at the beam. This can be a source of tremendous comfort and also tremendous stress, especially for teenagers, the man-woman relationship. So everything is created in pairs. Start with the smallest. We have the proton and the electron. And everybody says, well, there's one more. There's actually three in the atom. What about the neutron? And yes, the neutron has the weight of the proton, a little bit more, and no charge. So we can say that the proton and the electron got married. And it is the neutron, the stability of the union of proton and an electron, that gives stability to the atom itself. We can learn that. Marriage is an important element in stability in our lives, in our society. Wow. And when we look at the plant world, it looks like everything is different color, shape, size, smell, texture, but actually they're all the same, stamen and pistil. When we look at the animal world, again, male and female in the mammals and the insects and the fish and the birds, and all of them are created in a pair system principle. And even the ladybug, right? And in the human society as well, male and female. The real question, everything has this internal nature, mind and body, and everything has male and female. I want to focus right now on the male-female relationship and ask, why? Why is it that everything is male and female? And what is the uniqueness of this relationship? This has to be clear in our mind. Otherwise, it can also be a tremendous stress, the relationship between man and woman. And for students, this is particularly important. So let's look here. Who will teach us the purpose of human sexuality and what role that will play in society? Well, I believe it's our religions. And let's turn to the Bible. Genesis 1:27, at the very beginning, when God talked about creating man, he made it very clear. God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created male and female. So man and woman together are in the image of God. Let me repeat, man and woman together are in the image of God. And it's right here in the Bible. In the first book and the first time when God talks about creating us in his image. The Holy Father echoed this. The image of God is the married couple, the man and the woman, not only the man, not only the woman, both of them together. When a man and a woman celebrate the sacrament of matrimony, God, as it were, is mirrored in them. And this is God's design. So every religion honors marriage. Wow. So this is, again, something that is universal. It is something stable in our life. And we need to look at that in terms of preparing our life. Mother Moon, the co-founder of the IPLC College, said this: we marry in order to resemble God. It's kind of like that simple. God exists as the dual being of dual characteristics. Husband and wife together reflect God's original nature. And we've seen the biblical references that support that. So what is our purpose of human sexuality? Not only sex for pleasure and procreation, which it is most fulfilling within the context of marriage, but unique to all of the animal worlds. We marry in order to resemble God. Animals don't do that, but we do. And it is something very unique and special. So therefore, ask yourself a simple question. How many gods are there? And every Christian and every Muslim knows there is one God. So if man and woman are to be in the image of God, men, how many wives should you have? One. And women, how many husbands? One. One man, one wife in the image of one God. It's kind of that simple, but oftentimes missed. But we're re-emphasizing that living for the sake of others is the dual purpose principle. And when you apply that in relationships, you love for the sake of others. And then you build relationships of true love. You change the I to O, and then you have the pair system principle. My summary, again, we have the mind and body relationship. The dual purpose is living for others. the mind and body are aligned correctly in this way, and the pair system principle, unique to human beings, is the institution of marriage. It is made by God, not man-made. We made other institutions, political, educational, economic, military, whatever. But the institution of marriage was made by God, and He made us to be married. So these two principles are learned, experienced, and brought into our character, our second nature in the family. This is why the family is so important. It's not just a place to stay when it rains or food to eat when I'm hungry. The family is where we nurture our character and we build relationships that are resilient to whatever may happen outside. If you've got these family relationships strong, you will withstand any storm. This is the best stress management technique, bar none, the family. And so that should be the goal of each of us, to help our families be better and to build good families. I want to close by advising everyone here about a very unique student organization. It's student and youth, so it's not just students. It's called Youth and Students for Peace. And we've talked about certain things that can help manage stress. Well, this Youth and Student for Peace organization, as mentioned, we're active in 46 countries around the world. Every cultural sphere, we are there, flourishing. If you haven't heard of us, then please get in contact with us. This is a social network of young people. They can help support you during this COVID crisis. We have family-friendly relationships and environment. We believe that we are one family under God, one world family. It teaches universal values more deeply than I can do in these introductory remarks. It emphasizes responsibility as God's greatest gift to us, has a positive approach to suffering and sacrifice, so that we don't complain and we're not bitter and resentful, but we look at the positive side. Has a clear vision of life, both the life on earth and our life in the spiritual world after we die. And lots of physical exercise. They're very good at Tongil Mudo, and they have exercises for everyone, but it's particularly the Tongil Mudo sports for young men. Thank you very much. I look forward to the reactors' comments and the questions and answers that follow. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Robert S. Kittle, for that wonderful presentation. Now we are going to hear from our reactors. Today we have a distinguished panel of reactors for today's webinar series. For the first one, please help me welcome the President of the International Association of Youth and Students for Peace, Professor Richel Halika. Let's give him a big virtual round of applause.
To our distinguished fellow speakers, respected educators of the Commission on Higher Education from Region 4, youth leaders, students, peace-loving global citizens, a pleasant morning to all. Peace, namaste, assalamualaikum. It is my distinct privilege to address you on this significant webinar series on stress management entitled Nurturing the Heart and Soul, Promoting Physical, Mental, and Spiritual Well-Being in Times of the Pandemic, with the theme Fostering Positive Vision of Hope and Peace Towards Building Stress-Free Academic Communities. This virtual gathering comes in a time of great disruption for the world, compounded by an unprecedented global health crisis due to the COVID-19 pandemic, with severe economic and social impacts. But it is also a reminder that times of struggle can become an opportunity for positive change and transformation. Therefore, Instead of dwelling into the negative impacts brought about by this crisis, let us open our hearts and minds with the opportunities at hand. Tomorrow, actually, is the United Nations 75th founding anniversary. The United Nations was established as a direct result of the Second World War, and the value of peace is significantly highlighted in times of conflict. It is actually an innate human nature to realize the true value of something when it is gone. However, let me expound that peace is not just the absence of war. Before I continue, I would like to thank our Dr. Venus Agustin. Also, I would like to give credit to my mentor, Dr. Robert S. Kittal, for his constant advice and education. He is actually my model, and I do agree with his proposals. He talked about pillars and beams as the basic formula for universal peace. Actually, in civil engineering, the subject on the strength of materials includes the calculation on stress and strain. Before that, let us have a recap on the topic about stress. According to the WebMD medical reference dated last March 9, 2020, this year, stress is actually a normal part of life. At times, it serves a useful purpose. Stress can motivate you to get that promotion at work or run the last mile of a marathon. But if you don't get a handle on your stress and it becomes a long-term, it can seriously interfere with your work, family life, and health. More than half of actually Americans say that they fight with friends and loved ones because of stress, and more than 70% say they experience real physical and emotional symptoms from it. Actually, there are several causes of work stress, which includes being unhappy in your job, having heavy workload, too much responsibility, or working long hours, having poor management, unclear expectations of your work, or no say in decision-making process, or working under dangerous conditions, being insecure about your chance for advancement or risk of termination, or having to give speech in front of colleagues, or facing discrimination, harassment at work, especially if your company isn't supportive. And life stresses can also have big impacts, like personal stress. An example, the stress caused by the death of a loved one, divorce, loss of a job, increase in financial obligations, getting married, moving to a new home, chronic illness or injury, emotional problems, and taking care of an elderly or sick member, or traumatic events such as natural disaster, and including this COVID-19. So sometimes the stress comes from inside rather than outside. You can stress yourself out by just worrying about things. All of these factors can lead to stress, like fear and uncertainty, attitudes and perceptions. How you view the world or a particular situation can determine whether it causes stress. Unrealistic expectations, change, any major life change can be stressful. Your stress level will differ based on your personality and how you respond to situations. Means, like, all in all, it all boils down to your personality or your spiritual altitude. Some people let everything roll off their back. To them, work stresses and life stresses are just minor bumps in the road. Others literally work themselves to sick. The opposite to stress is actually peace of mind. However, peace is not just the absence of war. In reference to Dr. Kittal, stress can be countered through peace of mind, which needs strength of mind. We need to establish peace within an individual, family, society, nation, and the world. Conflicts actually create stress at every level. This is all scalable based on Dr. Kittal's presentation. Peace can only be realized on the foundations of freedom. That's why we get stressful, because of the quarantine. Our freedom is being stopped, limited. And peace can be achieved or realized through unity and through happiness. However, freedom cannot exist outside the natural and spiritual principles governing the human life. Freedom cannot exist without responsibility and good results. Next is unity. True and sustainable unity cannot be achieved centered on wealth, authority, or knowledge. True unity can be only achieved centering on the harmonious artistic relationship. Next is happiness. Most people just want to be happy, centered on themselves. at the cost of other people, centered on their selfish desires. But such fleeting happiness creates stress and conflict. Nobody wants to unite with a selfish person. In the end, such a person will become lonely, stressed, and miserable. Therefore, sustainable, stress-free, peaceful, and happy environment must be established, centered on the whole purpose for the sake of everyone. In summary, true peace, freedom, unity, and happiness can only be achieved centered on true love, which is living for the sake of others. In closing, IAYSP is a global family of young people building a world of peace with true love. Our mission is to advance world peace by empowering youth and students to become global citizens through character education and peace projects supporting the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Yes, in conclusion, a peaceful life is possible. A peaceful society, a peaceful family, a peaceful nation, a peaceful world, they're all possible. So that's why I would like to call on everyone to please let us all live for the sake of others. Let us build a world of peace. Let us become peace designers, peacemakers, and ambassadors for peace. So in conclusion, in closing, peace in a stress-free environment, the solution is living for the sake of others. Thank you to all our organizers, staff, partners, sponsors, friends, and all the participants. Advance happy 75th anniversary of the United Nations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor. Thank you very much, Professor Richel Halipa, for that reaction. For the next person to give his reaction in today's webinar series, may I call on Dr. Venus Agustin to do his introduction.
Good morning again. So I would like to introduce our second reactor. He's a multifaceted man. He's a dynamic leader, a well-rounded educator and a devout family man, and he's an epitome of a modern-day educator and manager, progressive-minded, dynamic mover, and highly adaptive to the changing needs of the fast-moving generations of our time. My dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, he is now the chairman of the board of Diliman College and Diliman Educational Corporations, Commonwealth, a professor at the University of Makati, and the president and executive director of the Commission on Accreditation for Local Colleges and Universities, ALCOCOA, and executive director of ALCO and ALCO Athletic Associations. And lately, he was elected chairman of the National Network for Quality Assurance Agency. Other milestones of his able leadership was that he was elected vice president of Professors World Peace Academy, Philippines, and the latest one, appointed chancellor of Lyceum of Philippine University, Laguna. Help me welcome Dr. Raimundo P. Arsiga.
Thank you so much, Dr. Agustin. At this point, I would like to acknowledge the presence of Secretary Erlinda Pepianco. We're so blessed, our former Deputy Secretary and now the President of Antipolo Institute of Technology. It's also my pleasure to see in the virtual conference some local colleges and university officials. I saw Dr. Estrella Cinco of San Mateo Municipal College. And of course, I'm happy to see once again a good friend, a mentor, Dr. Robert Kittel. And also, I'm happy listening to Superintendent Elazar of DepEd Palawan. From your talks, I realized that stress is something that you cannot get away from. COVID-19 came unexpected. And we're used to have a lot of stress around. And if there's something I learned from Dr. Eliasar's presentation is that you cannot stop stress coming. The most that you can do is on how to manage stresses. And taking it from the talk of Dr. Kittel, he presented a very important challenge and realization. You want students and everyone to manage stress then you have to provide everyone a peaceful environment. And this calming is something that you cannot memorize. Peace is something that may come and may be provided by different institutions. In the presentation of Dr. Kittel, we have to realize that in our attempt to arrest the challenges of COVID-19 and its impact to the students that we have right now, we have to revisit the role played by the family, by the church, by the community, and by the school. And my beloved university officials, we're not accidental to where we want to bring this nation. We are actually the beginning and the end. Remember, in the presentation of Dr. Elazar and Dr. Kittel, they kept on telling us that in addressing stress, people need support. And support may come from the family, from the church, from the community, and from the school. Allow me to tell you that there are 3 incidents already of students who committed suicide, and it was openly shared to everyone due to the stresses they got from the virtual classes. Because some of us in the academy, instead of shortening lessons, instead of shortening the content, right, we just virtualize, right, the content instead of reduction. There are some teachers maybe, okay, who instead of reducing the academic requirements, have prolonged to make sure that they're getting compliance from the students. I'm not sure about the story, but reality so dictates that people under stress may end up losing their lives and would opt to just commit suicide. Now, of course, it's not clear now what are the reasons and why students are practically committing suicide. But as educational institutions, I don't think we can excuse. Again, as mentioned by Dr. Kittel, and I'm happy to hear it once again, the concept of universal peace. And that peace is something that we have to embrace as an educational institution. We've been talking about outcomes-based education in higher education. We were made to believe that you have the SILO, the PILO, and the ILO, the institutional learning outcome, the program intended learning outcome, the course intended learning outcome under OBE. But the question at the end of the day, have we included peace as one of the outcome? Kids who haven't experienced peace at home will just depend on school or in the church. Not all are blessed to have an intact family, and some are just dependent to their teachers, to the academic community, to the guidance counselors. And allow me to state some statements I've heard in my 28 years in the academy. Good teaching is good teaching. COVID-19 is not a problem. Yung mga teachers na nagtuturo talaga bago mag-pandemic at magaling na teacher, COVID-19 is nothing for them. Because once you're a good teacher, you're a good teacher, whether you are in a face-to-face or in the virtual class. You have to be very dynamic, very animated in front of your students. Please take note that we're not just teaching the students, we're teaching the entire family. Today, when we teach in front of the students, it's not just our students listening to us, but the entire family. Maybe without us knowing, when we influence the lives of our students through teaching, we're influencing the entire family. That's one realization that I got to know from where we are in today. Number 2, we can build or destroy the image of our institution. Whatever we present in front of the box, right, in the virtual, can inspire people to come to us and enroll, and vice versa. Unlike then, we're just confined in the 4 corners of the wall. I'm sorry, but I heard it many times from committed educators. Education is not for grade, but for life. Again, I repeat, education is not for grade, but for life. Gone are the days that we have to stress our students about the grades. Even in examination, if you give it virtual, how would you know if they're the one taking the exam? Grades become irrelevant. How would you know if the one reciting was practically alone answering the questions? Not all who got 95 are good, and not all those who got 74 have no promise of becoming successful I've seen a lot of people who got 75, 78, 80, 82 was the highest, but they succeeded beyond expectations. And I've seen people who got 98, 99, even cum laude valedictorian. Unfortunately, they were not able to end up with the outcome they expect for themselves. Today, classroom is borderless. Classroom is timeless. Classroom becomes unlimited. And we should have realized something. Let us not stress anymore our students about the grades. Don't be tired computing the grades, because at the end of the day, the flexible learning gave us a lot of challenges. How would you know that the performance task was prepared by the student themselves? Again, education is not for grade, but for life. If you see your students in the virtual classroom happy, smiling with you, reacting to what you say, and they're doing virtual clap, virtual thumbs up, and are even crying in the virtual classroom, you'll be happy about it. Because the outcome of education is not about the grade that they'll be getting. Grade is an input and a process, but that's not the outcome of education. And from the presentation of Dr. Kittel, let us not forget that we're creating and we're supposed to create students who will advocate peace. It will start from the family. If kids will not, and the students will not learn what peace is all about in their lives, they cannot create peace for others. If they cannot be a peaceful person, I don't think they can establish a peaceful family. And if they cannot create a peaceful family, let us not expect that they are capable of creating a peaceful community and a peaceful world. And that's what I got. Thank you, Dr. Kittel, from your presentation. Today, we're limited by what? No? By the classroom. Again, good teaching is good teaching. Now that we cannot teach 15 chapters of the book, now that we cannot achieve the 20 outcomes per subject, there is one call. We have to make our teaching simple and basic. Try to recall those years of our mom and our grandmothers where we don't have outcomes based yet, when we don't have core competencies yet, we don't have vertical articulation, and they don't have 5 English subjects in college, in high school, and grade school. But imagine how good they are compared to where we are today. The call of the time would be not to prolong the agony of the students. It should be beyond curriculum. And to manage the stress is to make our curriculum relevant, responsive, and inclusive by shortening it, by making it simple, and making it basic. Before I end, allow me to remind the higher education institutions to implement flexible learning. Let us not push Zoom, Google Meet, GoToMeeting, right? Microsoft Teams if it's not possible. Flexible learning is reminding everyone to evaluate connectivity and gadgets. While the rest of 39 can do virtual, there might be 7 not capable. Let's not stress them. Just send them module. We will not be losing anything if we create module specific for the 7 others who cannot be in the virtual learning. Number 2, let's have academic breaks and plug off, right? I guess every other major exam, we have to have plug off and we have to have academic breaks, not just between breaks and trimester. The time to give both the students and the faculty members to breathe and to relax. Number 3, if there are 7 subjects, let us not have 7 projects. I guess we can just have one interdisciplinary project, multidisciplinary project, one project which can be used by the sciences subjects, the social sciences, because for you to have 7 projects for 7 subjects to be submitted next week is something so stressful. Anyway, one task project from social studies can be used by other subjects. And let us embrace synchronous and asynchronous. When our school officials told us to have it asynchronous, let's do it asynchronous. Let's not make it synchronous from Monday to Friday. That's economically unfair. because not all can have data, right? And not all have the strong connectivity. And as mentioned by Dr. Fermin of CHED, the challenge would be for us to limit the content. That's the first thing that we have to do. Let us not push 15 chapters. Number two, essential outcome. Not all can be delivered via virtual. Number three, authentic assessment. You might want to remove grades. I'm sorry, Chet is around. But why do you have to stress NSTP students to learn like algebra? And so with PE, the outcome of physical education is not the same with the outcome of algebra and professional subjects. There might not be multiple choices, fill in the blanks and identification. There are some subjects which can be best delivered through practical presentation, virtual humanities. We don't have to ask our students to memorize sculpture and everything, right? It's appreciation of the arts. And maybe via virtual, we can just come up with a virtual concert for them to share what they're capable of doing via different media arts. And the last one, very important before I end. You want the students to be free from stress. We want the students to be free from possible suicide. Then we have to give them quality and unforgettable experience. The challenge of this virtual learning, COVID-19, and to make a stress-free environment would be to allow the students to experience peace inside the classroom, to inspire the students for the value of universal peace from the house to school to the community and to the world. And we can only do that by allowing our students and our children, our youth, to experience authentic, quality, relevant, and inclusive experience. Once again, a pleasant morning to everyone, and God bless all of us.
Thank you very much, Dr. Raimundo Arcega, for those words, for those wonderful insights and remarks on flexible education for both the faculty and for our students as we cope up with this new normal. So both of our reactors gave very significant and valuable insights, and I hope a lot of our participants are taking down some notes, because up next, for the next part of our program, we're going to have the open forum. So this will be facilitated by the president of International Peace Leadership College, Dr. Venus G. Agustin.
All right. Thank you so much, Choli. And also would like to appreciate and give credit to the two reactors, especially to our Dr. Raymond Arcega for such a profound and comprehensive synthesis of the message of the two speakers. So there is a question here. I will read. Uh, by the way, for those who are listening, after reading some of the questions that is sent to me, I can call for open questions from among those who are present. So the first question is, if a person having too much happiness on his or her job, then she might become depressed. What if a person getting too much stress to work will be might cause also depression? This is from Mr. John Carlo Vilonsa, San Matthew Municipal College. So anyone from the two speaker? The actor also can add later. Yeah. Dr. Kittle.
Yeah, please repeat one more time. A person
Okay,
has
so
too much happiness?
yeah, if a person having too much happiness on his or her job, then she might become depressed. What if a person getting too much stress to work, will he might cause also depression?
Okay, thank you. There are, first of all, let me appreciate both reactors, Rachel Halipa and Raymond Harsiga. And when he talked about the importance of the family, then he included the church. And if a church is functioning correctly, the church is also a family. And if the school is functioning correctly, then your teachers can be parents to your children. They should be sensitive to what they're going through and help them if they're struggling. So, but you talk here about too much happiness. There are different types of happiness. If there is kind of this personal happiness becomes almost a self-serving happiness, then I think there is an instability built within that. But if there is instead kind of the happiness of the institution itself, for example, in a family, if somebody is just happy and takes more than their fair share of food and other family members don't get enough food, then that happiness is not good or healthy. But if in a family there's not enough food, who are the people that sacrifice the most? It's the parents. So they will willingly, even happily, pretend that they're not hungry so that the children can eat. So I think happiness is a good thing, but it really needs to be more in the public concept of happiness. And too much stress, well, too much stress, again, a little bit of stress is good. It kind of puts you on your edge, gives you additional adrenaline or energy that you need at a particular time. But too much stress, then you need to seek counsel. You need to help kind of alleviate that. It is unhealthy, as we have seen from the literature that has been quoted here. So again, a balance in life, and that balance comes really from family or family type of relationships in society. They are the healthiest.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kittle, for that input. Okay, so another questions. This address also to the two speaker. What should be our actions to students suffering from stress because of the following reasons, like broken family, working students, lack of study materials, financial, etc.? This is from Arman Panganiban, ITEC. Dr. Alicia, you want to answer? Dr. Alicia?
Dr. Venus, can I answer?
Oh, yes, Dr. Arsiga, please.
Yes. By the way, I'd like to go back to the first question raised earlier, that too much happiness can lead to depression. This is my first time to hear about it, no? That too much happiness can lead to depression. I guess it's the other way around, no? When you're too stressed, no, you left no time. No time was left for you to think over the right disposition for a certain way. But happiness can be true, or can cover what is really deep within a person, no. But whoever asked it, no, I'm happy to hear that too much happiness can lead to depression, no. But let me go back to the second question, no, about broken family, no, issues on broken family, and how we can. Please note that a school, no, the school can only respond, no, to any attempt, okay, to handle family problems, so within its control. That's why we have the guidance office, and we have what you call PTA and PTA, Parent Teacher Association, or Parents Instructors Association in college, trying to strengthen a relationship with the parents, no. But let us be reminded that for the end of the school, no, that's why we're doing profiling, no. We want to find out who came from broken family, who lives not with their parents, and so with the economic, no, classification of the students, to be able for us to come up with a comprehensive program which will be responsive to the socioeconomic status, no, and psychosocial status of the students, no. That's why there is a need for us to have good guidance counselor. Not only good, but outstanding guidance counselor. Why? Imagine if you have about 3,000 students or 1,000 students, uh, this guidance counselor have to cater 1,000 needs. And take note that they're not supposed only to cater needs of those with problems, but even for those people who do not have problems yet. Because guidance program can be both preventive or corrective. And we're trying to avoid corrective program as much as possible. We want to come up with programs that are more preventive, more proactive than reactive. Maybe the second issue about financial and broken family, uh, beyond the school, you need a guidance counselor who will be passionate to go to the community and would definitely find time to talk with the parents. And it will start from not seeing the students inside the classroom. Again, not only the guidance counselor, but the teachers themselves. They have to be sensitive. If they started the semester with 50 students in the virtual class, and they've seen someone not anymore reporting, not anymore appearing, right, in the virtual classroom, either he attends to him personally or he has to refer the students to the guidance counselor. But everything will start from attendance monitoring to be able for us to reconcile these issues relating to broken family and PTA, I'm sorry, on money matters and so forth and so on. But I have to be very honest. Sometimes even if you have the best and comprehensive guidance program, and even if the leadership of the school was so kind, sincere in addressing the problem, really, at some point there are kids who would still end up committing suicide or whose mental health are compromised. I'm sorry, but at that point, you cannot do anything anymore. So at least you've done something, no, to prevent as an educational institutions. Again, I would like to remind everyone that's the reason why CHED require 4 licensed guidance counselors, because you have this group of uh, people trained really to do guidance and counseling scientifically. Counseling is something that require scientific know-how on how to do it. That's all, Dr. Agustin. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Arsiga. Any words from the two speakers? Reactions?
I just want to
Contribute?
mention just one simple point.
Dr. Kittel.
Um, action from stress related to a broken family. The important thing is don't look in the past and pity yourself. Oh, my family is broken, therefore I can't accomplish what I would like to do. No, you can still do that. And more importantly is that you can look to the future to have a good family for your children. And that future goal is very important. And you can adopt, parental figures, counselors, teachers, pastors, or other mentors that you may find to help, be the person that can parent you through these difficulties. But again, don't look in the past, but look into the future of what you want for your family and what you can do. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kettle. There is
Hello?
one. Yes, Dr.
Hello, hello.
Eliasar.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Agustin. Regarding the second question about the action of the student who is suffering from broken family, financial problem, and etc. I mentioned already the management technique. Number one there is changing your thinking. So we need to think only on the positive side. So we have the choice. Think only what is positive and disregard the negative. Another one is perhaps you need to change your behavior. What are the unnecessary behavior that I must reject, that I must delete from my behavior? And my behavior must be accepted within the culture where I belong. And another one is change your lifestyle. Perhaps because you are having a financial problem, because might be you do not spend your money the right expenditure. And Another one is sometimes we need to have a social contact, leisure time, relaxation. We need to breathe in, breathe out, and concentrate, of course, in God. Have faith in God because everything is under His control. Thank you so much,
Thank you so much, Dr.
Dr.
Eliasar.
Agustin.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Eliasar. There's one thing reactions from iTech, Dr. Erlinda.
Thank you,
Uh, yes, you are recognized, please.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Agustin. First, I would like to congratulate everybody, the speakers and the reactors. But I just want to have some reflection on the things that we will want to bring home from this session. Okay. When we started this semester on a pandemic mode remote learning, we put up what we call in iTech research and innovation agenda. So every day we were monitoring what was happening in school. We're a small school, so that's easy to do. We also divided our semester into two. So instead of 8 subjects all at the same time, we divided it into 4 per quarter. So they're now having their finals this October. But just last week, the head of our research innovation agenda was telling me, Mom, those who have to work after class are doing better than those who are full-time students. Okay, we have self-directed learning, we have consultation time. So I asked her why. So she said, maybe we should go back and bring back focus on life skills. They do not know how to manage their time. They do not have any study skills, and that could make a difference. I guess that is what stress management will also be all about. So I just wanted to ask maybe Dr. Kittel or Dr. Eliasar. We're going back into talking about life skills, particularly know how to manage your time. How do you study? Because if a student who needs to work in the evening is able to submit on time, why not somebody who's a full-time student? Thank you.
Wow, that's an amazing input, Dr. Erlinda. That's very informative. Dr. Arsiga, you are recognized. Oh, sorry. You just appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, so there's another questions that I thrown to the two speakers. Please allow me to read. Is it possible for CHED to impose removing numerical grading system as yet and instead a grading policy of just pass or fail? This is from Randolph Angeles, Colegio de Montalban. Maybe the CHED can react later.
Dr. Agustin, in the absence of the commission, may I say something? In my capacity as
Dr. Siga, you're recognized. Yeah,
quality
please.
assurance, not pass or fail, but I guess CHED gave us enough space, no, to think about our grading system. There are some schools not using any more numerical. Like if you go, or sometimes the highest is not anymore 1 but 4. In particular, De La Salle, no, the highest grade for them is 4. The lowest is 1. Now, if you go naman to FEU, for instance, their grade is not anymore 1, 2, 3, 4. Their grade is A plus, B plus, C plus, D plus. So in the present setup, I don't know, but particularly for autonomous universities and even not autonomous, no, flexible learning is inviting everyone to come up with authentic assessment. And while we cannot define exactly what's best for our students, COVID-19 should have given us enough confidence to reinvent and prove to the whole world. Now, what was mentioned by Secretary Pefianco is not one among those dictated upon by CHED, but upon the initiative of her leadership, no? That anything happening now is a research material, is a research agenda, and will allow us to think beyond CMO. Going back to the grading system, I'm not sure about pass or fail, but you may want to liberalize, no, but not to the extent of shortening it to pass or fail. But again, looking at the experience of other universities, reverting it from 4 as the highest, 1 as the lowest, or A, B plus, C plus, or in religion. I don't know if you're aware of that. No, grades are not anymore 85, 86, 87. No? Sometimes it's just a star in basic education. If you did well, you have 3 stars, and then you have 2 stars. Now, if it's happening initially already prior to pandemic, we may want to push, no, and be the one to take the lead in implementing authentic assessment. But as ALCOCOA, I cannot categorically say that you can do that, pass or fail, because even the grading system is covered and guided by pertinent CMO, of course, well thought by the technical panel who produce it.
Much, Dr. Siga, for that contributions on answer to the questions.
Can I?
Yes, Dr. Robert Kittle, you are recognized, please.
Thank you. I'd like to go back to the previous question because it was an important point about, children who work after class are doing better than those students who, don't have to work and don't have jobs. And I think the lesson to be learned here is that just having time is not as important as time management. So a student that has the job afterwards, they must manage their time more because they have more obligations or more responsibilities. Also, they're more willing to make sacrifices. Maybe they're staying up later because, well, they might not have enough time. So I think she is right, the questionnaire, when she talked about, we have to really go back to kind of the basics and how do you manage time? How do you study? What are your study habits? I think those are important. Always going back to basics in whatever field you're in. Thank you.
Dr. Agustin, if I may, Secretary Pefianco shared a very important discussion, no? The word life skills. I guess what we have to do now would be to go back to the drawing board and revise our curriculum in such a way that, all what we're teaching are geared towards the development of the life skills. I have to be very honest. There might be some teaching inside the classroom that are not necessary for people to survive. They might be spending too much time for something unnecessary for them to, to have a meaningful and significant life ahead. No? So I just don't know if somebody can answer this, but I like the proposition of Secretary Pefianco that, the outcome of education should be those skills that they need to be able for them to live and to survive. Then you go back to the curriculum. The life skills would be one of your input, no? One would can be one of your basic outcome, and then you design the curriculum in such a way under pandemic that we can address the development of life skills, given limited time and limited resources. And one of which, as mentioned, is time management. If I may, I don't know if you will allow me, agility and resilience can also be included into what you call life skills. This is very important for us to realize now. So try to think about the physical education, the NSTP, other general education, let's try to evaluate, no? If all these general education and professional subjects are needed and are necessary and critical in their desire to go, in their desire to confront lives ahead, no? And of course, we cannot just set aside, remove, because again, the curriculum are covered by CHED CMO. But CHED is also liberal, no? By allowing us to enhance our curriculum. CHED in their CMO would just ask you to have the minimum, but you have few units higher from the basic, they call as enhancement. Number two, since it's pandemic, the moment you touch the curriculum, you have to go to CHED again and ask for permission. Why not use the course plan and the syllabus and the outcomes-based teaching learning plan, right? As the way for us, as a means for us to revise, no? To revise the delivery. So you still have the same subject, the same program, and you just make a little twist or manipulation in the course plan. Not all in the course plan or outcomes-based teaching learning plan, right, are necessary. to live and to have a meaningful life. So it's all about the academic freedom of a teacher. Kaya nga I'm saying, good teaching is good teaching. So bala ka na, anong gusto mong tanggalin? Di ba? Sa palagay mo na hindi na dapat ituro. Di ba? Imagine you only have in a week 3 hours, 1.5 hour synchronous, 1.5 hour asynchronous. So what is that 1.5 hour synchronous that you have to share with your students? So it's all up to you to delete some of the topics in your course plan. Don't insist to do what you've been doing prior to pandemic. Otherwise, you'll lose your job and you will lose your relevance in teaching. Am I right? That the students would just prefer to go virtual because they're not happy with you. So it's important that we really shift our paradigm, and the sharing of Secretary Pefianco is very important as a consideration for defining the outcome of higher education. I have to be very honest. Teaching for 28 years, there are some topics in what I'm delivering I don't think is necessary. But because I was asked by my dean to teach it, I have to. So I guess it's the time for us to rethink, to go back. And you can do that even without instruction from the president of the university. You can do that even without waiting for the CMO. That's what you call academic freedom. You can design your course plan, right? Even the computation, you may want to compute kunwari, but you should know the grade at the end, no? Kahit kulang pa ng 2 points yan, you have all the freedom to increase the grades, no? To manipulate the grades, no? So without waiting, no, for any instructions from regulatory bodies and even from the institutional officials, we can reshape, rethink, redefine our
President
delivery.
Venus, may I make a brief comment? I did mention that we have a research and innovation agenda unit. We will be very glad to share with you the result of that study, because our purpose is we want to learn how this journey of remote teaching and learning will affect how we will continue teaching next year. I do not think we will go back to the same traditional, always in the classroom model. So we will be very glad to share that with you at the end of this, so that it can be, a learning lesson also for us. We will do that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Elinda Pibiang. Thank you for that. Okay, so there's a questions. This is the last questions addressed to the our speakers. Okay, so the question is, what if your parents and teachers expect you to pass and achieve successfully? Is it also part of stress or motivation? By Marie Samoldi, COSB RIZAL. What if your parents and teachers expect you to pass and achieve successfully? Is it also part of stress or motivation?
I'll take the lead again, Dr. Venus. My last. Anyway, if that's coming from the student, there's something very important. Don't allow other people to define your happiness and your life. No, expectation should come from you, and it should not be dependent on someone's expectation. Otherwise, you'll end up unhappy when you have not achieved it. If the question is coming from the students, no, let me just remind that no one has the right to define your vision. Nobody has the right to define your expectation. And most importantly, no one has the right to define your happiness. You have to be happy now, and you can be happy anytime you want. Number 2, failure is not failure. It's a delayed success. There are some people who will fail, but from failing, they've learned a lot. And it was actually a road for them to become successful. In my experience, I'd never been a valedictorian. I'd never been a cum laude, right? At some point, I got 75, 78 in mathematics, right? But I'm a classical example. That education is not about grade. It's about life. And if I may quote from a favorite professor in education, the heart of education is the education of the heart. So yeah, you got 90 plus. That's cognitive, right? But don't forget that to be able for you to live with it, you have to feel and you have to integrate that in your whole being. So again, failure is not failure. Celebrate failure. Celebrate failure. Because there's something that you will learn from failing. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Arsiga. Wow, that's a really stunning remarks. So in the interest of time, we are no longer have much time. I would like just to get a few words from our two speakers. First, Dr. Eliasar, Alisa Eliasar. Dr. Robert Kittle.
Dr.
Yes.
Agustin.
Okay, Dr. Eliasar, please. Ren, our from CHED. Yes, our Renifer Francisco, you are recognized, please.
I'll answer without a cam kasi medyo mahina talaga yung aking signal. Naabutan ko kanina, actually okay ako doon sa question ng kung pwedeng tanggalin yung numerical sa grading system. CHED will invoke, of course, it's yung kanya kasing policy na pagdating doon sa pagbibigay ng grades, ang mga higher education institution po natin ay mayroong tinatawag na freedom to determine kung paano silang magbibigay ng grading system, lalo na po sa tertiary education. So patungkol po doon sa tanong na yon, wala pong kumbaga nasa higher education institution yon kung paano nilang bibigyan ng marka ang pinaghirapan ng mga estudyante nila. Ang importante ay merong isang konkretong basihan kung papaano at bakit ito yung naging performance ng ating mga mag-aaral. Okay, so in behalf of CHED po, ako ay nagpapasalamat sa lahat ng mga umattend. Baka maputol po ako ulit. Sa lahat po ng umattend dito sa successful activity na ito, sa lahat ng resource person which I have not mentioned earlier, thank you so much for all your effort and your time devoted in this undertaking. So maraming salamat po sa lahat ng officials ng higher education institution na nandito at sa RIZAL Cluster Committee. Thank you so much po and God bless everyone again.
Thank you, Ma'am Ren.
Hello, Dr. Agustin.
Yes, Dr.
Hello,
Eliasar.
Dr. Agustin.
You're
thank you so much
recognized.
for thank you so much, Dr. Agustin, for inviting me, even for a short period of time that I prepared my presentation. You gave me a lot of inspiration, and indeed you are an inspiration to me. Thank you so much for Dr. Kittel, for those who are participating in this series of webinar. Hopefully, this is not yet the end of our series of webinar, but more webinars for us to become strong, to become independent, and can combat all stresses that is happening in our lives. And with the lectures that was given to us, we know already those factors that influence us to become very, very stressful. And we know already how to manage them through the techniques. And I remember the biggest crocodile in the world, Lolong, died because of stress. So all of us must be stress-free. Thank you so much. God bless us all.
Thank you so much. Dr. Kittle, few remarks.
Yeah, just trying to express my gratitude for having the program, the effort that it took to organize it, bring the speakers together, the support of CHAD Region 4, the reactors, the audience that is there. I'm just very, very grateful for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kittle. And of course, the two reactors, do you have some few words? First, Professor Rachel Halipa.
Yes, I would like to convey my special gratitude to Dr. Agustin. Thank you, sir, for inviting us, of course, to Dr. Kittle and Dr. Arcega, and to all the CHED Commission Higher Education for being able to put up this program, virtual program. And to all the students who are listening, I would like to join you, I would like to invite you to please, you're welcome to join the IAYSP. It's an international NGO, and we'll be happy to welcome you in our family of global peacemakers. And hopefully we can help you in order to overcome your stress, internal stress, external stress. And as you have seen our logo and our name, it's an International Association of Youth and Students for Peace. Our goal is to give you peace of mind and hopefully prepare you for building a peaceful family and becoming a peace-loving global citizen that can contribute to a peaceful community, a peaceful nation. And so you're all welcome. Please join us. We'll be happy to help you overcome your stress, internal, external stress, and give you true happiness through living for the sake of others. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Rich Alipa. Dr. Raymond Arsiga, please.
Once again, thank you so much, Dr. Agustin. My pleasure to meet once again our peace mentors, Dr. Kittel and Professor Richel. And to the rest of people who attended, I guess there's something we've realized, that COVID-19 is both a challenge and an opportunity. We were challenged by COVID-19 to manifest a kind of leadership which is kind, sincere, resilient, and agile. Let's continue to be visible and be more confident that by coming and holding our hands together, we'd be able to arrest the challenges of COVID-19 pandemic. I will continue to pray for everyone. Again, thank you so much, Secretary Pepianco, for joining us today. It put more value having you around in this virtual conference, and the rest of the administrators in Region 4A. From our beloved CHED representative, thank you. Continue to shepherd all HAIs. Together, we'll be able to make this country COVID stress-free. A pleasant morning to everyone.
Thank you so much, Dr. Arsiga. And that's end my role as moderator for the speakers and the reactors. Back to you, Madam Chuli Noyana.
Thank you very much, Dr. Venus G. Agustin, for that, for moderating and facilitating that wonderful open forum. We had the most fruitful discussion just now, and we hope that all the participants enjoyed that one, the question and answers. And we also would like to thank the speakers and the reactors for your insights and your expertise on the matter. So thank you very much, everyone, for that. And now we have approached the last part of our program today, and that will be the closing remarks. And this will be given by no other than the dynamic president of the University of Rizal Systems. Please help me welcome Dr. Nancy T. Pascual.
Okay. Okay. So, to the main proponent of this webinar, Dr. Venus Agustin, thank you for your wholehearted support and enthusiasm in proposing this activity. Then I would like to express my sincerest appreciation to our invited speaker, Dr. Alicia Eliazar, Dr. Robert Kittel, for sharing their views and insight on stress management, and to our panel of reactors, to the CHED Region 4 Director, Dr. Amelia Biglete, thank you for spearheading CHED. It's higher education by hand, which is the basis of today's activity. So to my fellow presidents and members of the Rizal Province Committee, for your willingness to be of service to our fellow Rizaleños. So Ma'am Cora and Ma'am Benifer for guiding us in conceptualization and implementing the project. So to the faculty and staff of International Peace Leadership College, thank you for your invaluable contribution towards the success of this webinar. I am looking forward for more partnership and collaboration in the future. So to the participant in today's webinar, I hope this activity gave you insights on proper stress management. May it serve as your foundation in dealing with the challenges of life thereby promoting stress-free SEIs in the province of Rizal. Once again, thank you very much and mabuhay po tayong lahat.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nancy T. Pascual, the president of the University of Rizal System, for that wonderful welcome remarks. And that was the last part of our program. Thank you so much to all the participants, all the faculty members, faculty heads, the students from all over Region 4, from all over Rizal. Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope that you had a wonderful and fruitful time with us. Are there any announcements? Dr. Agustin, would you like to say something before we end this?
Yes, I'd like to announce to all the listeners, both in YouTube and Facebook, to please, especially if you're registered, you'll be assured of e-certificate. So please write the evaluation form, and then through that, you will receive your e-certificate. And for our panel of speakers, we are sorry we cannot hand to you your e-certificate for now to the 2 reactors, but rest assured that we will send to you the e-certificate as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you all.
Have a nice
God
day
bless.
ahead. God bless. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you everyone. Thank you for